Tonight, let's settle in for a modern fable, one about governance in this wild new age of intelligent machines. We're calling it the accountability paradox.
So our story begins on the sixth night. The workshop is supposed to be humming along, but the air is cold, and a different kind of storm is brewing. We've built these absolutely incredible toys, AI agents that can think for themselves, fly, and even decide who gets a present. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, when the sleigh suddenly crashes or one of those smart toys makes a really bad mistake, this terrifying silence falls over the whole North Pole, and a single haunting question just hangs in the air. Who exactly is responsible here? I mean, think about it. Is it the elf who coded the toy's logic? Is it Santa, the big boss who deployed it out into the world? Or is it the toy itself? The one that learned and adapted and decided to change course all on its own mid-flight? Yeah, this is where our little fable gets really, really complicated.
And this, right here, is the heart of the problem, the accountability paradox. It's this simple but kind of scary idea. The smarter and more independent we make our machines, the more their inner workings become a total black box. So when they inevitably fail, it becomes almost impossible to figure out who's truly at fault.
So tonight, we're going to unwrap 3 big truths about responsibility in this new age. Let's start with the first one. Self-learning liability.
You can pretty much throw the old rule book out the window. It used to be simple, right? If a wooden train broke, the toy maker was responsible. Easy. But now, well, we've got the Tesla precedent, where a jury slapped millions in liability for an autopilot crash. At the very same time, the EU is updating its laws to say that a product defect now includes what a product learns on its own, long after it's left the workshop. And the implication here is, well, it's profound. You're not just responsible for the AI toy you ship out on Christmas Eve. You are now legally on the hook for what that toy teaches itself in April, or July, or even next November. If your AI learns to be naughty, you're the one paying the price. So, okay, the AI is learning. But what exactly is it teaching? And that brings us right to our second truth, inherited bias. We often deploy AI hoping it'll fix our own human mistakes. But here's the twist. Research from the NIH found something pretty startling. When we humans work alongside a biased AI, we don't just follow its flawed advice, we actually start to internalize it. We learn the AI's biases, and those errors stick with us, even after the AI is turned off. This really gets to the core of the danger. We think we're just deploying tools, but we're actually deploying our teachers. And because an AI's logic can be so opaque, so hard to understand, we might just accept what it says as gospel truth. The problem is, if the teacher is flawed, the human student, well, they can become permanently broken. And this leads us directly into our third truth, digital redlining. Because here's the thing, AI doesn't just invent prejudice out of thin air. It learns it from us. Just take a look at these real-world examples. In hiring, an Amazon AI actually penalized resumes that had the word women's in them. In housing, Meta's algorithms were caught hiding ads from people of specific races. In finance, the Apple Card famously gave a man 10 times the credit limit of his own wife, even though her credit score was better. And in the justice system, a risk assessment tool was twice as likely to falsely flag Black defendants as being high risk. So, the most important thing to get here is this. These aren't just bugs in the system. They are mirrors. They're just reflecting our own societal biases right back at us, but doing it at a massive automated scale. Okay, so that's the problem. It's this big, messy paradox of liability, bias, and scale. So, how in the world do we fix it? Well, the first part of the solution is to put a tracker on the sleigh. Since we can't really trust the black box, the big idea is to build a transparent glass box around it. And this is actually possible now with 2 key technologies. First, you've got distributed ledger technology, or DLT. Just think of it like a permanent, unchangeable logbook for every single decision the AI makes. And second, there's decentralized identity, or DID, which basically acts like a digital fingerprint, giving us rock-solid cryptographic proof of who did what and when. And what this does is it fundamentally shifts our whole approach. We move away from the old way, which was just blindly trusting the black box, to a totally new way, cryptographic verification. We don't have to guess anymore. We have a verifiable, traceable record of every single action. But look, traceability is only half the battle. In a really complex system with lots of AIs working together, how do you actually assign blame when something goes wrong? This brings us to the second part of the solution. Math is the new judge.
The concept is called blame attribution, and what it does is it uses principles from game theory, there's this thing called the Shapley value, to mathematically calculate each AI agent's precise share of responsibility for a final outcome.
So instead of a big argument in the workshop, we can just run the numbers. In this scenario, for example, the math might show that the data provider was, say, 70% responsible for a failure, Agent A was 30% responsible, and Agent B, well, Agent B had absolutely zero contribution to the problem.
And this is a truly radical shift in thinking. Accountability stops being this fuzzy philosophical debate or some big moral argument. It just becomes a mathematical equation that we can actually solve. So let's bring this all together. What's the key takeaway from our little story on this sixth night of governance? It's that true autonomy requires a paper trail. That paradox we started with, it suddenly has a resolution. The more powerful and independent our machines become, the more they demand rigorous, provable human verification, not less. It's completely counterintuitive, but it's true.
We are absolutely entering a new era. It's one where liability for an AI is dynamic and it's never ending. It's an era where bias is infectious, spreading from machine to human. And maybe most importantly, it's an era where accountability can finally become mathematical.
So, we've diagnosed the problem. We've even seen the outlines of a solution. But that leaves us with one final, crucial question as we head into the seventh night. How do we take these amazing new tools and actually build a system to govern all this chaos? We'll explore that next time.